Imagine looking up tonight and realizing the universe has sent us a visitor, not just another comet, not just another ball of ice and dust, but something older than Earth, larger than Manhattan, and stranger than anything we've seen before. What if the thing racing toward our sun right now isn't just a comet? Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you'll be asking the same question scientists are quietly whispering. What if 3I/Atlas isn't just a comet? You're standing under a sky that has outlived empires, a sky that held your ancestors as they prayed, dreamed, and feared. The air is still, the night alive with crickets, and somewhere between the hum of Earth and the silence of space, something moves. At first, it's invisible to you, just another anonymous point of light. But far above, machines built by human hands, the Atlas Telescope in Chile, the Vera C. Rubin Observatory, the James Webb Space Telescope, see it differently. They see motion where there should be stillness. They see a curve where there should be a circle. You tilt your head back, not knowing what they know, not feeling the mathematics slip into place on their screens. But imagine if you could. Imagine the cold realization as a scientist, alone at a monitor at 2 a.m., watching the data points refuse to behave like the familiar family of comets. Imagine your pulse racing as you realize, this thing is not from here. You've just caught a stranger slipping into your backyard. And here's the part that twists your stomach. It's not on a round trip. It's not bound to the sun, like Jupiter or Mars or Halley's Comet. Its orbit is hyperbolic, wide open. That means it came from outside, from the endless dark between stars. It will swing once around our sun and then vanish forever. And suddenly, the questions begin to boil up, the same ones that have haunted humanity since we first saw a star. What if this is more than ice and dust? What if this is a message? What if this is proof that we are not alone? You shift uncomfortably under the weight of that thought. For the first time in your life, you are aware of just how vulnerable Earth feels under this infinite roof of sky. Because if something can travel from another star to here, what else might be following? We gave it a name, as if that makes it less mysterious. Astronomers call it 3I/Atlas. The 3I means it's only the third confirmed interstellar visitor we've ever spotted. ʻOumuamua in 2017, a strange, elongated shard that tumbled silently through our system. Borisov in 2019, more like a textbook comet. And now this, 3I/Atlas. Atlas comes from the telescope that discovered it on July 1st, 2025, perched high in Chile's clear skies. At first, it looked like a simple speck, another faint object on a crowded canvas. But astronomers are hunters. They know when prey moves differently. Within days, its orbit told the story. This wasn't one of ours. It was a migrant from deep space, and when humans don't understand something, we name it. Naming is power. Naming gives us the illusion of control. 3I/Atlas sounds clinical, almost bureaucratic, but it doesn't erase the unease. It doesn't erase the fact that this visitor is not bound to our sun. It doesn't erase the way it feels to know this is not a member of the family. It's a guest, and a temporary one. You whisper the name to yourself, 3I/Atlas, a string of letters, numbers, acronyms, and yet it feels personal, intimate, because you and I right now are alive in the exact moment humanity is meeting its third interstellar visitor. Our ancestors never had this chance. Generations from now, they might marvel at this era, the age when Earth first began to notice the universe was sending messengers. And maybe, just maybe, they'll wonder if we missed something, if we misread the signal. Comets are supposed to be simple. We've seen hundreds of them. Dirty snowballs, we call them. Ice, dust, a bit of rock. They orbit quietly for eons, then flare into drama when they fall toward the sun. Warmth cracks their shells. Gas vents. A tail grows. A banner across the sky. Predictable, familiar, comforting even. But 3I/Atlas breaks the script. When the James Webb Space Telescope turned its gaze toward it, the story got strange. Instead of a coma rich in water vapor, like the comets we know, this one exhaled carbon dioxide, a lot of it. The ratio of CO2 to water wasn't just unusual, it was extreme. Roughly 8 parts CO2 to 1 part water. That's not how our comets breathe. That's not the chemical fingerprint of our solar system. It's the breath of another star system entirely. Different nursery, different conditions, a different story etched into its frozen skin. And that's when you feel it. the unease. Because if the universe is willing to send us a visitor that rewrites the rules of what a comet even is, then what else might it send? Astronomers struggled to explain it. Maybe it formed farther from its parent star, where CO2 ice was abundant. Maybe it never had much water to begin with. Maybe it's the survivor of a system with chemistry we haven't even imagined. But your mind refuses to let go of the forbidden question. What if it's different for another reason? And you think of ʻOumuamua again. Remember the debates? Hydrogen iceberg, fluffy fractal dust, or, if you dared to whisper it, something built, a light sail, a probe? Science leans toward natural explanations. But storytelling, the part of you that's human, curious, terrified, hopeful, leans toward the wild. And 3I/Atlas, with its alien breath, makes the wild harder to dismiss. Because isn't just a comet doesn't always mean artificial. Sometimes it means unfamiliar. And unfamiliar is where the mystery lives. How big is it? That's the question that makes headlines. Size matters because size means presence, power, and potential danger. Early reports called it Manhattan-sized. And while astronomers caution against dramatics, the truth is still staggering. Using the Hubble Space Telescope, scientists tried to peer through the glowing coma, through the fog of gas and dust that cloaks its nucleus. The numbers that came back weren't exact, because how do you measure a heart you can't see? But the estimates suggest a core somewhere between 320 meters and 5.6 kilometers across. Even at the low end, it's big. At the upper end, it's larger than most mountains you've ever seen. Imagine something the size of a city, wrapped in its own exhaled shroud, moving at cosmic speed, slipping quietly through our neighborhood. That's not a firework, that's not a spark, that's a world fragment. And the problem is, we don't know exactly where within that range it falls, because the coma hides it. The very thing that makes it a comet, its glowing breath, also makes it impossible to measure with certainty. Like trying to guess the size of a firefly while staring into a lantern. And that uncertainty, it gnaws at us. We humans are not comfortable with "we don't know." We want measurements, we want clarity. But 3I/Atlas gives us fog and mystery. And in that fog, imagination flourishes. Because until we know, we are free to ask, what if it's bigger? What if it's hollow? What if it hides something inside its glowing veil? Before the imagination gallops too far, let's plant our feet in the soil of fact. 3I/Atlas is not a threat. It will not collide with Earth. At its closest, it will pass about 1.8 astronomical units away. That's more than 150 million miles. Safely distant, a ghost passing through the edges of our solar stage. It will reach its closest approach to the Sun on October 30th, 2025. Mark that date. Because as it swings inside Mars's orbit, sunlight will heat it, wake it further, strip more secrets from its skin. Telescopes will drink in the spectra. Computers will churn the data. And we'll learn as much as we can, fast, before it vanishes back into the void forever. This is a one-time show, no encore. And that's why the clock ticks louder. Because this visitor has a return ticket to the interstellar dark. Once it's gone, it's gone. And every unanswered question leaves behind a scar of regret. So, what if we miss the message? You know that strange sensation when someone calls your name across a crowded room and for a moment you feel exposed, seen, even though you weren't expecting it. That's what 3I/Atlas feels like. Astronomers say it's just another comet. They use careful words: nucleus, coma, gas ratios, orbital path. But deep inside, something stirs when you hear about it. Something ancient, something you don't fully understand. Because this isn't just another dirty snowball. This is a traveler from another star, a relic older than Earth, a fragment of a system we will never visit, carrying in its chemistry the story of another sun. And it has chosen this brief moment, our moment, to cut across our sky. You stand outside at night, staring up at the dark, and you wonder, why now? Why us? It doesn't matter that it's passing safely at a distance. It doesn't matter that it's just CO2 and dust. What matters is how it makes you feel. That tickle in your chest, that whisper at the back of your mind. What if this is more? What if this is a signal? What if this is a mirror, showing us not who we are, but who we could be? You realize with a shiver that you are not just looking at a comet. You are looking at a story that might change us forever. We've seen visitors before, but each one has left scars of mystery. ʻOumuamua, 2017. It came like a blade, Long, thin, tumbling, accelerating. It didn't flare a tail. It didn't behave like a comet. Some scientists swore it was natural, just oddly shaped. Others, like Harvard's Avi Loeb, dared to ask, what if it was a probe, a light sail? The debate never ended. ʻOumuamua left us with more questions than answers. Borisov, 2019. The second interstellar visitor. This one was easier to label. A classic comet. Water, dust, a proper tail, comforting in a way. Proof that some things out there do behave like the textbooks say. And now 3I/Atlas. It sits between the two. Not quite ʻOumuamua's enigma, not quite Borisov's normalcy. It breathes CO2 instead of water. Its nucleus hides behind a fog. Its scale defies clarity. History tells us this. We are 3 for 3. 3 visitors, each one different, each one rewriting the script, and each time we have had to confront the same truth. The universe is far more varied than we imagined. But there's another layer to this history, the layer of how we respond. When ʻOumuamua came, we hesitated. No probe was launched. By the time Borisov arrived, we weren't ready. Now 3I/Atlas is here, and again, we watch from the sidelines, gathering data, yes, but not touching, not reaching. And you wonder, when will we stop being spectators? When will we decide to meet these visitors halfway? So let's pause and imagine, even if it's natural, even if it's not artificial, even if it's not alien technology, what makes 3I/Atlas more than just a comet? A time capsule from another sun. Picture, a snow globe from a star you will never see. That's what 3I/Atlas might be. If its chemistry is different because of where it formed, then every molecule of CO2, every frozen grain of dust, is a message in a bottle, a fossil of a long-dead nursery. You aren't looking at ice, you're looking at the weather of another world, trapped and preserved for billions of years. A survivor from before our solar system. Some scientists think it may hail from the Milky Way's thick disk, a population of older, metal-poor stars. If that's true, then 3I/Atlas may be older than Earth itself. Imagine holding a rock that remembers a time before the sun was born, a time when galaxies collided, when heavy elements were scarce, when the universe was raw and violent. This is not just a comet, it is a survivor from before the beginning. A sculpted surface. Suppose its skin has been seared by eons of radiation, forming a crust that locks water beneath the surface but allows CO2 to escape. That would explain the strange outgassing. To you and me, that crust isn't just geology. It's armor, testimony to survival in interstellar exile. A cosmic recipe book. Every comet carries chemical ratios, CO2, H2O, cyanide, carbonyl sulfide. They are ingredients lists, snapshots of how planetary systems form. When we read 3I/Atlas's chemistry, we are reading a recipe from a kitchen beyond our reach. Maybe this recipe tells us something about how life begins, or how it doesn't. Either way, it is a chapter in a story bigger than us, a mirror for us. Finally, 3I/Atlas is more than a comet because it forces us to look at ourselves. It challenges our tools, our biases, our definitions. We want comets to fit boxes. This one refuses. And so it teaches us that the cosmos is not bound by our categories. It teaches us to stay humble. So maybe isn't just a comet doesn't mean artificial at all. Maybe it means sacred. Of course, the temptation is strong. What if it's not natural at all? ʻOumuamua gave birth to this idea. Its strange acceleration, its cigar-like shape. Some said it might be a craft, a probe, a light sail. The debate still rages, though no evidence has confirmed it. Now with 3I/Atlas, the same whispers rise. Could the CO2 veil be intentional? Could the fog hide something inside? Could the nucleus be hollow, metal, alive with intelligence? The scientific answer is almost certainly no. All evidence points to a natural comet, even if a strange one. But the human answer is a heartbeat faster, a chill on the neck, a willingness to imagine. And that imagination is important, because one day, maybe not with this visitor, maybe not with the next, but one day, the whispers might be right. And when that day comes, will we be ready? Here's the real what if we should ask. What if we didn't just watch? What if we met it halfway? Imagine a world where every time an interstellar visitor is spotted, a rapid response mission is waiting. Small, agile spacecraft. AI co-pilots that can adapt in real time. Engines primed to slingshot around Earth and chase the object into the dark. We wouldn't need to land. We wouldn't need to capture. We would need to learn. A flyby, a swarm of images, a whiff of gas, a single dust grain collected by a scoop and returned to Earth. That grain could hold isotopes we've never seen before. Molecules forged in the furnace of a star we'll never reach. It could whisper secrets about how planets form, how atmospheres breathe, how life itself sparks. And here's the twist. If we build this system now, not for 3I/Atlas, but for the next 50 interstellar visitors, then we change the story. We stop being passive, we stop being spectators, we become participants in the cosmic dialogue, because the universe is speaking. The only question is, are we listening loudly enough? And here's the part that matters most. You, me, us. You're hearing this story not as a scientist, not as an astronomer, but as a human being alive in this exact slice of time. The third interstellar visitor in recorded history is here now, during your lifetime. Think about that. Your ancestors never had this chance. They looked at the night sky and saw mystery, yes, but they never had proof of interstellar wanderers. You do. One day your children or their children will ask, what was it like when humanity first started noticing the galaxy was sending objects into our sky? And you will say, I was there. I remember when we called it 3I/Atlas. I remember the mystery, the fear, the wonder. And maybe you'll add, it changed us. Because whether or not it hides alien technology, whether or not it's artificial, whether or not it's just a comet, it has already altered us. It has reminded us that we are not alone, not necessarily in terms of intelligence, but in terms of belonging. The universe is bigger, older, stranger, richer than we ever dared to dream. And the true what if isn't about 3I/Atlas at all. It's about us. What if we choose to listen? What if we choose to explore? What if we stop being afraid of the unknown and start welcoming it as part of our story? So tonight, when you step outside and look up at the sky, remember, somewhere out there, beyond the stars you know, a visitor is passing through, bigger than a city, older than Earth, breathing a chemistry we don't understand. And ask yourself the question at the heart of this story. What if 3I/Atlas isn't just a comet? Because the answer might change not just how we see the universe, but how we see ourselves.